Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying till the lecture ends.
Just because of you.
Yeah, just so today we're gonna talk about communication, and our main research question will be: what was the impact of the internet for our daily communications? And we'd like to start with a few quotes. First, the biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place, said by George Bernard Shaw, the socialist and co-founder of London School of Economics. And the next quote is: much unhappiness has come into the world because of bewilderment and things left unsaid, said by Fyodor Mikhail Dostoevsky, a Russian novelist, journalist, and short story writer, whose psychological penetration in the human soul made a huge impact on people from the 20th century. And the last assumption are the terms of relation said by just an actor from Manhattan who has a huge life experience, but it's also good. And let's forget that we are international students of third semester and define what is communication itself. And Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary says that the imparting or exchanging information by speaking, writing, or using some other mediums. And just before 1995, communication was different. Those poor guys only had an option to just talk one-to-one or contact face-to-face. And they could only just phone and hear their wonderful voices and just write the letters with full of emotions, and some they were just unlucky. And the other side of coin, that the phone calls were very expensive and available for just rich people, and of course this travels from one city to another. That cost a lot. And those communications were unsecure, so someone could hear or spy your phone calls and other things. And of course, it was so slow to wait a letter from your husband or something. And the communication, let's define what is communication. And it has three objects: sender, message, and receiver. And the message itself has four properties, as we have learned in our lectures: self-regulation, factual information, appeal, and relationship. So, in those days, this communication wasn't different. Like, they had the same objects, but it was available only for one-to-one talking and just for phone conversations. And since 1995, we have been introduced new ways of communication, like internet and mobile applications. And today we have more options to, want to walk, we can just meet somewhere, and we can contact anyone in the globe, not depending on where he is now, where he's located now, and we are more mobile due to these mobile applications. And most of us use at least two of these applications. Maybe we have a mail app and Facebook app, or just WhatsApp, but we have two of them. And the audience of these applications are growing dramatically. Right? For example, this WhatsApp audience has reached 900 million people in this September. So they're growing significantly year by year. And can you identify what's missing in this message, in this little tiny message? What's missing? So I can help you with the beginning. Oh, come on.
The blue tip.
No. I was talking about this vocal.
Maybe the abbreviation of minutes.
Not just don't think like too deep. There is missing one
Usually
option.
it's here.
Yeah, one option is eye contact is missing just to make you in the right direction.
Wait.
Eye contact is missing. What more?
The context, it could be like the house is on fire and then the person's like, okay, I'll come over in 5 minutes, or like, yeah, I want to hang, and then you're like, okay, I'll come over in 5 minutes, or like
Appeal.
the context is missing.
Yeah. So there is only factual information that he's coming and what emotion he has.
Maybe that people get identified via their phone number as there's no name written, for example. So in past days, they writing the letter, they used to write their names after the message, but using WhatsApp, that's not required anymore.
Yeah. We'll talk about later on.
Okay.
So in this message, we miss eye contact, body language, vocal inflection. Yeah, it is to correct the miscommunication or something like that immediately. Yeah, you can rewrite those words, but immediately you can't do this. What about those messages? What you can say? Yeah.
Well, it's much more specific, like the intention in which it is written. For example, one could assume that the house is not on fire in the first and third example, but that maybe some significant other is waiting for the other person to come over.
Yes, so we will analyze this example now in the example of the Schulz von Thun model, and maybe you can once again give a guess. Do we have a relationship? So the relationship here in this message. Yes.
Well, it's evening, so probably the person who sent the message is female.
It's female. Okay.
Because of the heart, because
Stereotypes.
so one could infer that they are romantically involved.
Yes. So next. So that's right. And the next thing is the appeal. Does this message have an appeal? Or could have an appeal in it?
The same message, but
Yes.
The appeal could be like, get ready, I'm coming over, maybe make some food,
Yeah, make
Like
some food,
the
for example, yeah.
bring pizza.
For your wife, whatever.
totally correct.
And now factual information. Is there factual information in it? Yes.
The person will be at the other person's house in the time frame of 5 minutes, more or less, probably more.
Yes.
Correct. Again, the same message and about self-revelation. But again, yeah.
The person's horny.
For example, yes. Could be about Netflix and chill or
That's the
whatever.
same thing we talked.
Yes.
Netflix and chill.
So the question now is, what has changed? And that was obviously has changed is the distance. For example, you can now send a message, in this example from Europe to South America, and within 1 second or in real time basically, and this can make up to 20,000 kilometers, which is once around the world.
Or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that there's some time needed to come over, which is probably less. It's probably more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, then you can write, I will come over in 1 month or something like this. So,
Yeah.
but you can communicate with your friend or with your loved ones around the world and in real time. And this is a very important impact of the internet. But of course, the internet also has some disadvantages, and this is basically about security. But as we mentioned before, also the letters you wrote in the past, and basically the phone codes. They have been wiretapped, and the Stasi and everyone else, the KGB, they opened the letters and they read your messages. And we will have a look now. We will have a look now on the privacy right now by using WhatsApp, Telegram, and so on. And as every one of you probably remembers the case of Edward Snowden, so the whistleblower. So he revealed what the NSA does and what the GCHQ, this is a British security service, what they did. This was also really significant. And the BND and the old security services like Stasi and KGB, they were also really shocking examples what the surveillance state is all about and what they are able to do. But we will not dig in deep in how the NSA works or how the GCHQ, what they did, but we will look how to prevent this. Yes, right now in the US and in Europe as well, in pretty much every state, the government forces the mobile carriers and for example, your smartphone, like Samsung and Apple, they are forcing them to build a backdoor so that they can wiretap all citizens of the country. And we will come back to the case of Apple later. But the government forces the manufacturers and the carrier of the network, so basically the whole communication system, to let them into the system to spy on you, on us, so on everyone else. And in the case of the NSA, for example, they have a law, and this law says that the NSA is not allowed to spy on residents. So they are not allowed to spy on US American citizens. But the problem is, no one here is US American citizens, and 98% of the world population is not a US citizen. So we as Germans or as you speak people, we are not US citizens. So they are allowed to spy on us because we are not a US citizen. So here you see, maybe you recognize some services you use daily or maybe monthly or whatever. So here you see services which are based in the US or which have servers in the US. For example, even Wikipedia has a service in the US. So the US government or the NSA basically, they are allowed to spy on more than 98% of the world population, and everyone who's using these services. So we only left with, for example, Spotify, Telegram, with some email providers and Line. So these are not non-US services. But is it that bad at all? So I say it's not that bad at all, because there are some companies who really care about privacy. And for example, this is Apple, and this is also Facebook with the example of WhatsApp or Telegram, but we will come to that later. And here's a quote of Tim Cook. This is the current CEO of Apple. So he said, you can't have a backdoor into software because you can't have a backdoor. That's only for the good guys. So in this case, the NSA, because the NSA is currently building a lot of pressure to Apple and Facebook, in the example of WhatsApp, so that they build a backdoor into their encryption service. But Apple is not allowing them to do so. And that's his opinion about it. And I think that's true, because currently, in the example of WhatsApp, and it's also the case about iMessage or FaceTime, if you FaceTime. So, for example, these three services, they are all encrypted. For example, Telegram, that's what, for example, we use that often, and it's an alternative to WhatsApp, but they both work more or less the same. So they are 256-bit symmetric AES encrypted. That means no one can ever read your messages, and even for the NSA, if they have the best computer, which is, I think it's located in Hong Kong or in China, in Shanghai, but even this biggest computer of the world, I think it's probably 10 times larger than this campus, even this computer will need millions of years to encrypt one single message of your WhatsApp. So, yes. So nobody will ever be able to encrypt one little message of your WhatsApp. And the second thing is PFS, perfect forward security, and Diffie-Hellman secure key exchanging. So that means that every message has a key, and every new message has another key. That means if the NSA is able to crack this message, but they probably need millions of years for, they will need, again, for the next message, again, 1 million years. So if they have one crack, they need to crack every other message, and that is currently not possible. And what's this RSA 248 encryption? That means that Skype and Telegram are using the encryption method the US government is using for their state agencies. So communication by using services like Skype, FaceTime, and WhatsApp, and iMessage. So these services which are encrypted became really secure, and the government is used to get no access to your messages. And there are some other hacking software which the government is able to use, but they are not able to read your messages if you use these services. So I built a new model, and this will show. So maybe you will recognize there's a sender and there's a receiver. And the first difference is you don't only have one receiver, you can have many receivers. So you can send one WhatsApp message not to only one people, but one guy, but to 100. And so you can spread your message, and you have two ways to do it. Either you choose the secure way, and you choose one of the encrypted messages. And Snapchat is, by the way, also encrypted. So you can choose one of these services, and no one. So the noise factors are here with the unsecure message, or social media and messaging apps. And if you have, as the user, you have the possibility to choose between secure and unsecure communication. Yes.
So would you say that WhatsApp is safe for hackers?
So WhatsApp is, they came in the critiques of, I think this is solved now, but when they introduced this encryption method, which was really late, I think it was just Telegram. I think WhatsApp introduced the encryption really late compared to Skype, Telegram, and everyone else.
Yeah, because I don't know if you have heard yet about man-in-the-middle attacks, like if you're in
Yeah,
the same
it's totally
Wi-Fi.
okay.
So this would be then possible using WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, this is something I can tell you also about, but this is not about this presentation.
Yeah, but
No, I only wanted to, in order to
Yeah.
understand your argumentation on that.
The man in the middle attack just can be handled just for unencrypted packets. If the packets are encrypted, they cannot see what you are doing there, because it cannot decrypt by itself. So these applications are using encryption, so it's totally okay.
So they are encrypted. WhatsApp is encrypted. If it is as they state, so nobody will be able to read your messages. But some critics, they say, because WhatsApp, they are not offering their security keys to the public, so nobody can really see and look if this is true what they state. And I think Skype and Telegram, they are offering their encryption keys to the public, so everyone can see, well, this is encrypted, this is safe, I can use these services. This is the only negative point when it comes to WhatsApp. Yes, and then I built the final model, which includes the internet. So first of all, we have the sender is sending the message, and as we recognized in the beginning, that even the messages you send with your mobile phone by using emojis, you can have all four dimensions of this message. And so, after typing your message into your hopefully encrypted messenger, or by talk, or if you're using FaceTime, it's the same, you can choose either to spread the message in the secure way or in an unencrypted way, where you have the noise factors, which are the NSA, which are governments. And what's also very important is, for example, hackers, because they can also, as easy as the government can do, they can just hack your PC, your messages, and they can read them. So you can choose between safe and not safe, and the message can be received by one receiver or by many receivers, and this can happen around the world in real time. So this is a message here. And maybe any one of you knows this guy. Yeah, David Cameron, and here we go. So he has a proposal, and he wanted to ban WhatsApp from Great Britain in January. I think this was after the early attacks in Paris. So he wanted to ban WhatsApp because the government of the UK were not able to encrypt messages which were sent with WhatsApp, for example. So he wanted to ban WhatsApp out of the country. And now the question, is general mass surveillance of pretty much every human worldwide acceptable to prevent terroristic attacks like these in Paris on November 13th? So what do you think about it? Is it okay to spy on every citizen? And is it okay to give governments a backdoor into the communication system or not? Okay.
Thank you so much for your attention.